Puerto Rico, we're ready to receive the governor to listen to her message for the state of the state on the 20th Legislative Assembly, and we will cordially welcome all of the guests that are here at the House of Representatives. Speaker, Mr. President, and before the governor coming in, I would like to acknowledge the guests who are with us. Go ahead, Mr. President. We have with us members of the Supreme Court of Puerto Rico, Honorable Rico Carballo, Honorable Roberto Florenti Cintron, Honorable Luis F. Estrella Martinez, Honorable Camilo Rivera Perez, and Honorable Raul Candelario Lopez. Secretary of State, Honorable Rochelle Rivera Santana. Chief of Staff, Mr. Francisco Domenech. Lady Mother of the Governor of Puerto Rico, Honorable Mia Colón. French gentleman, Jose Jovín Vargas Yabona. In the Constitutional Cabinet, we have the Secretary of Justice, Lourdes Gomez-Torres. Secretary of the Department of Hacienda, Angel Pantojas Rodriguez. Secretary of the Department of Education, Ezra Ramos Perez. Secretary of DTEC, Sebastian Negron Richard. Secretary of Department of Labor and Human Resources, Secretary of the Department of Health, Victor Ramos Sotero. Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, Evan Rodriguez Torres. DTOP Secretary, Edwin Gonzalez Montalvo. Secretary of the Department of Correction and Rehabilitation, Francisco A. Quiñones. Director of AFOF, Office OMB. Subsecretary of the OMB, Guzman. Secretary of the Tourism Company, Ninette Robles Concel. Director of Land Use, Forest, DA Director Elmer Perez Port Latin. General Manager for Fine Arts Center, Jeanette Perez Porcho. Mayors. Mayor of Camuy, Gabriel Hernandez. Canóvanas Mayor, Lorna Soto Villanueva. Mayor of Ceiba, Samuel Rivera Baez. The Mayor of Culebra, Heriberto Romero. The Mayor of Juncos, Alfredo Alejandro Carrion. The Mayor of Lajas, Jason Martinez. Mayor of Rio Grande, Angel Gonzalez Camut. The Mayor of Vega Alta, Maria Vega Pagan. The Mayor of Vieques, Jose Corsino Acevedo. The Mayor of Aguadilla, Julio Roldan. We also have with us the Director of the Bureau of the Police, Joseph Gonzalez. The Administrator of ACA, Wanda Ortega. Insurance Commission Office, Attorney José Del Valle Lacorte. PREPA, Mari Zapata Acosta. Roosevelt Road Development Authority, College Fields Luisi. Central Office for Recovery, Attorney Eduardo Sawyer Rivera. Administration for Housing Financing, Loreto. Secretary of the Department of Labor, Manuel Pilar Vélez Casanova. Advocacy for people with disabilities, Administración Rivera, Location Administration, Dr. Rosa Lugo Caron, Comprehensive Cancer Center, Elba Carvalho Rivera, Parole Board, Attorney Frankie Rosado, Labor Relations Board, Nancy Barrios Diaz, Esquire, Industry Commission for Puerto Rico, Attorney Maria Quintana Roman, Convention District Authority, Attorney Perrelli Romero, Insurance Fund Corporation, Anita Ortiz Rodriguez, Diabetes Center, Carlos Romero Barcel, Daniel Molina Ayala, José Mabel Rivera Miranda, Cosec, Cream, Javier Cintron, Garcia Cintron, Pritko, Roberto Lafranc Fortuño, Secretary of Housing, Luis Arguso Martinez Vermont, Department of Public Protection, to call for Foley, Corporation for Agricultural, William Ron, AMSCA, Dr. Catherine Oliver Franco, Pritz, Poincare Diaz, Port Authority, Attorney Norberto Negron, Culture, Melissa Santana, Oficina Estatal de Conservación Histórica, Carlos Rubio Cancela, Carlos Rubio Cancela, Emergency, Angel Gomez, Department of Family Secretary, Susan Roy Fuentes, Bureau for Firefighters Puerto Rico, Jose Pino Torres, Offices of General Bureau for Transportation, Cruz Velasco, Corporation for Puerto Rico, Luis Rodriguez, Administration, Transformation, Human Resources, Attorney Facundo Di Mauro Vasquez, Department of Justice, already mentioned, Lourdes Gomez, Department of Natural Resources, Waldemar Quiles Perez, Financial Commissioner, Monica Rodriguez, Recreation and Sport, Marcus Muñiz, ASEM, Regino Corlon Orsina, Public Housing, Juan Rosario Hernandez, Banco de Desarrollo Económico, José Rivera Castro, Economic Development Bank, Acude, Attorney Andy Vega Ojeda, Alianza Público-Privada, Ingeniero Josué Colón Ortiz, Private Partnership, Engineer Khalid Ortiz, Alfie, Eduardo Rivera Cruz, Administration for Family Economic Development, Blanca Medina, ACES, Carlos Santiago Rosario, the Bureau for Telecommunications, Osvaldo Soto Garcia, Comptroller Office, Attorney Carmen Vega Funier, Secretary for Governor, Isa Garcia, Bureau for Women's Procurator, Astrid Pinheiro, Praza, Luis González Delgado, ATI, José Melendez Agosto, Oficina de Desarrollo Socioeconómico Comunitario, Development for Economic Development, Cameron Cabrera, Office for Permit Management, Evan Rivera, Basic Arts, Landron, the Veterans Office, Agustin Montañez Alban, 11, Jose Ángel Reyes Cañada, Secretary of Consumer Affairs, Ivan Torres Mortavo, Asume, Attorney Maria Lemon Matthew, Adfan, Wilma Ortiz, Ama, AMA, Luis Gonzalez, Deco, Lisa Alfaro, the Office of General Inspector, Evelise Torres. I would like to acknowledge in a very special manner, since I didn't hear it, that we have the mayor of the capital city of Puerto Rico, Miguel Romero Lugo. In the same way, I would like for the mayors of Puerto Rico to stand up who are here listening to this message of the Lady Governor. Among them, each one, all of you, please be welcome to the House of Representatives and have the appreciation of all of the representatives and senators who are here gathered this afternoon. Thank you very much. Mr. President, at this time, I request that Your Honor, as well as the President of the Senate, to determine the Senate who shall escort the Lady Governor of Puerto Rico. In conversation with the President of the Senate, we have both decided that we are the escorts of the Lady Governor. The President of the Senate, as well as me, will escort Lady Governor here, and I invite Vice President of the House, Angel Peñas, who has the President's office chair. Vice President of the Senate, please assume the presidency while we escort the Governor. To the difference of other messages from this type, we need appoint a committee or a work group for each one of the representatives or corresponding presidents corresponding to the House or the Senate. That means that the landscape changes because the presidents of the two legislative bodies are the ones who will go look for the governor and escort her to the hemicycle for this official address, the State of the State. This creates a different atmosphere which represents an action of solidarity and at the same time the aspect that when the governor arrives, then the beginning of this much awaited message will begin for both houses that are here together. It is important to mention that the message, the address is, as per the Constitution, requires to present to the Legislative Assembly at least once a year a State of the State address, and this is the moment. The instant has arrived for that to be carried out, and the Constitution states that they should mention the achievements obtained in the previous year and a projection in government affairs in the current year, taking into account that this is the second message that the Governor of Puerto Rico will be offering Jenniffer González-Colón. The message is offered, as we mentioned, the hemicycle of the House of Representatives with the presence of the legislators. In a joint commission, we go to the hemicycle now. The Governor of Puerto Rico, Honorable Jenniffer González-Colón.
Al hemiciclo, como indicamos, ambos presidentes de Cámara y Senado han acompañado
both presidents of the House and the Senate have escorted the governor, who is greeting different legislators
en el proceso a dirigirse ya a
that
la tribuna
she
principal,
is
desde
seen
donde estará
while
dirigiendo
getting
su
to the
mensaje de
main
situación
chair,
de
where she
Estado
will be
al país.
addressing the State
Como
of the
saben,
State
en este
address.
momento
As you know,
se
at
da
this
una
time,
dinámica
there
muy
is
interesante,
a
y es que
very interesting
pues
dynamic, and
tres
it's
ramas
the
principales
three
de gobierno
main
se
branches
hacen
of the government
presentes
are
en
present
los eventos de esta
in
índole
the
protocolares
events
que
of
conlleva un
these
proceso, porque
nature,
es
in
una
which
sesión
it conveys a
extraordinaria
different
la
process
que
because
estamos
it's an
presentando,
extraordinary session
en
that
la
we are
que la
presenting,
gobernadora pues
in which
decide
the governor
dar
then
un saludo
decides
inicial,
to provide
dirigirse
initial greeting
obviamente
and
a los
addressing
presentes
obviously the
y de
people
esta
who are
forma
present,
pues
and in this
proceder
way
a destacar algún
proceeding to
invitado
distinguish
especiales
some
o algunas personas que
special
ella
guests or
haya
some people
pues
that she
destacado para que estén
has
presentes en
distinguished so that
este
they can be
mensaje
present
formal.
in this formal
Entre los temas
message.
relevantes siempre
Between the
se encuentra el
relevant
aspecto de
topics, we
seguridad,
have
de educación, la
safe
salud.
security and
Ya está con
safety,
nosotros
health,
la
education.
gobernadora de todos
We have
los
with us the governor of all the Puerto Ricans, Jenniffer González.
al hemiciclo. Agradecemos a
We
todos.
thank everyone,
Y en este momento
and at this time,
le dimos la bienvenida a
we
la señora
welcome
gobernadora.
Lady Governor.
Y como
And
habíamos
as
señalado
we
ahorita,
have pointed out earlier,
hay varios alcaldes
there
que
are
se
several
encuentran aquí entre
mayors that are
nosotros y
here
que ya les
amongst
dimos la bienvenida.
ourselves, which
Pero para
we
mí es
already
bien
welcome,
importante
but to me it's
recalcar que
very
se
important to
encuentran con
highlight that we
nosotros
have
el alcalde
with
de Florida,
us the
José
mayor of
Elena
Florida,
Polanco,
Jose
la alcaldesa
Polanco,
de
the
Vega
mayor of
Alta,
Vega Alta,
María
Maria
Pagán,
Vega Pagan,
el alcalde de
the
Lajas,
mayor of
Jason
Lajas,
Martínez,
Jason
el
Martinez,
alcalde de Barranquita,
the mayor
Elio
of
Colón,
Barranquitas, Eli
el
Colon,
alcalde de
the
Guaynabo,
mayor of
Eduardo
Guaynabo,
O'Neill, el
Edward
alcalde de
O'Neill, the
Añasco,
mayor of
David
Añasco,
Solares,
David
Cabo
Solares,
Rojo,
Cabo
Jorge
Rojo,
Morales,
Jorge Morales,
el alcalde de San
the
Germán,
mayor of
Virgilio
San Germán,
Olivera,
Virgilio Rivera,
el alcalde de
the
Bonito,
mayor of Ibonito,
William
William
Alicea Pérez,
Alicea
el
Perez,
alcalde de Ceiba,
mayor of Ceiba, Samuel Sami Rivera
El
Baez,
alcalde de
the
Camuy,
mayor of
presidente de la
Camuy,
Federación de
president of
Municipios,
the Federation of
Gabriel Gaby
Municipalities, Gabriel
Hernández,
Gabi Hernandez,
el alcalde de
the
Vieques,
mayor of
José
Vieques,
Corsino
Jose Corsino
Acevedo,
Acevedo,
el alcalde de
the
Culebra,
mayor of
Gilberto
Culebra,
Romero
Humberto
Llobet,
Romero Llobet,
el alcalde de
the
Maunabo,
mayor of
Ángel Omar
Guaynabo, Angel
Lafuente,
Ana
la
Fuentes,
alcaldesa de
the
Canóvanas,
mayor of
Lorna Soto
Canóvanas, Lorna
Villanueva,
Soto
el
Villanueva,
alcalde de Las
the
Marías,
mayor of
Edwin
Las
Soto
Marias, Edwin Soto
Santiago,
Santiago,
el de Santa Isabel,
Santa
Melwin Rivera
Isabel, Edwin
Rodríguez, Las
Rodriguez,
Piedras,
Las
Miguel
Piedras, Miguel
Miki
Miki
López,
Lopez,
Villalba, Dan
Yalba,
Santiago,
Van Santiago,
Corozal, Luis Luigi
Corozal, Luis
García,
Miguel Garcia,
Naranjito, Orlando
Naranjito,
Ortiz,
Orlando
Patilla,
Ortiz,
Marista
Patillas, Marisa
Sánchez,
Sanchez,
de Hormigueros, Pedro
Hormigueros,
García
Pedro
Figueroa,
Garcia Figueroa,
Juana Díaz,
Juana
Ramón
Diaz,
Hernández
Ramon Hernandez
Torres,
Torres,
de Juncos.
Juncos.
Bueno, yo no sé si
Well, I don't
mencionar a
know if
Juncos
I
después que
should
eliminó
mention
a
Juncos
Fajardo.
out there eliminated for hard.
Alfredo
Alfredo
Papo
Papo, Alejandro Papo Carrion,
la alcaldesa Eloísa, Julia
the mayor of
María
Loiza,
Nazario
Julia Maria
Fuentes,
Nazario
el
Fuentes,
alcalde de Maricao,
the mayor of
Wilfredo
Maricao,
Ruiz
Wilfredo
Feliciano,
Ruiz Feliciano,
Vega
Vega
Baja,
Baja,
Marcos
Marcos
Cruz
Cruz
Molina,
Molina,
Rio
Rio
Grande,
Grande, Angel Guadi Gonzalez,
Aguadilla,
Aguadilla, Julio Roldan,
Comerío,
Comerillo, Irvin Rivera,
Moca,
Moca, Efrain Barreto,
y
and
alcalde de la
the
ciudad
mayor
capital,
of the
Miguel
capital city,
Romero
Miguel Romero.
Señora gobernadora, agradecemos
Lady
su
Governor, we
presencia
are
en
grateful
este
for your
recinto de
presence
la Cámara de
here at
Representantes,
the
recinto que usted
House of
conoce muy bien,
Representatives, a place that you know
recinto
very well, a
donde estuvo
place
varios
where
años,
you
que
were
tuvo
here
la
for several
oportunidad de
years and you had
presidir este
the
cuerpo,
chance of
conociendo
presiding this
muy
body,
bien el
knowing
trabajo
very
de la Asamblea
well
Legislativa.
the work of the
La
Legislative
Cámara de
Assembly.
Representantes
The
y el
House of
Senado de Puerto
Representatives and the
Rico
Senate
en
of Puerto
esta
Rico
sesión
in
especial
this
conjunta.
special
Y
joint
el pueblo de
session,
Puerto
and the
Rico
people of
está
Puerto
listo
Rico
para
are
recibir el
ready to
mensaje
receive
sobre situación
the
de Estado que usted
message
habrá
for
de
the state of
pronunciar
state
en
that
este hemiciclo
you
de la
shall
Cámara de
pronounce in this
Representantes de
hemicycle
Puerto
of the
Rico.
House of
Señor
Representatives of Puerto
presidente del
Rico,
Senado, con su presentación.
President of the Senate, Go ahead with the expression. We're ready to listen to the message of our governor, the budget of our government, and we are ready to approve in an immediate manner the fiscal resources to keep carrying out the work of our government. Ms. Governor, the hemicycle of the House of Representatives is yours.
Good afternoon, Mr. President of the House of Representatives and Mr. President of the Senate, the honorable judges of the Supreme Court who accompany us today, as well as the members of the Legislative Assembly, secretaries of the Constitutional Cabinet, people of Puerto Rico. Before beginning, I have to pray to the Lord. I have to ask God to speak through me so that He can guide my words, guide my steps, and give me security, so that everything that I say here is according to His will and not mine. You cannot govern without God. And so we have done this since I started 16 months ago and I was sworn in as governor. And it has been 504 days, and I'm not counting, of going out to the streets with the people, visiting many of the mayors. And in my first State of the State address, I presented to you where we were, our roadmap, and where we want to go. Today, I'm going to speak about results, metrics, where we are and where we're going, and the progress that we seek. And that is my focus. Today, I want to talk to you about accountability, metrics with success, but also problems, and how we're going to solve them facing our new year. And before I begin, I want to ask you, who has received a deposit in their accounts today? Well, then you were part of the beneficiaries of the first 200,000. And there's still more people missing. Over 400,000 Puerto Ricans who haven't received it yet. But today, in the accounts, bank accounts of around 200,000 Puerto Ricans, you have received $100 million out of the 540 million that we promised that you will get a check. Some people thought it wouldn't happen. We bet on it, and today we feel it in the pockets of our people. This check from the Treasury Department that some started receiving today, before the end of May, over 640 taxpayers will get it in Puerto Rico. People from the middle classes, working classes who earn less than $150,000 and need a break to move forward. And I had to say it because before I got here, I received many texts telling me, Madam Governor, I didn't think this was for real. And for the oversight board to approve something, it's huge. But there's nothing impossible for the Lord. And when people tell me that I cannot, that's when I work even harder to meet the goals. Last year, I committed with you to have the first balanced budget. And it wasn't easy because the Financial Oversight Board has been controlling the finances of Puerto Rico for over 10 years. But last year, we had the first balanced and certified budget by the Financial Oversight Board. And I have to thank this legislature for balancing it and help us in this feat. And today, I am in this State of the State address to ask you what we can do to please approve the second budget to repeat this feat so we have the second balanced certified budget by the Oversight Board. Why is this important? Because to leave the Promesa law, we need 4 consecutive balanced budgets and certified by the board. That's the only way to get rid of them. This is why together, in the legislative branch, we can do what no other government did before to attain the certification. And I know that we will do it consecutively. And this is not procedural. It's the result of fiscal discipline, of the fact that Puerto Rico is ready to handle its own finances. And I want to thank the director of the Office of Management and Budget and the director of AFAF for all the work they've done with the Treasury Department to attain this great feat. Last week, I presented to the legislature the general budget for fiscal year 2026-2027, a budget that we filed together for the Oversight Board. Our consolidated budget is $33 billion. It's $13.180 billion from the general fund, and it incorporates $677 million in directed assignments to the priorities of the government program. Everything that we do has to be included as priority for the people of Puerto Rico. And our priorities are strengthening essential services such as health, safety, investment in infrastructure, to support our municipalities to project the fiscal stability and economic development. And we have established a leadership model seeking the transfer of fiscal responsibilities towards the government. For the first time since the Promesa law, the OMB led the planning and the formulation of the consolidated budget for fiscal year 2027. And in the past, it was the board who made the budget and we had to accept it. Now, even though the deadlines were marked by the board, we presented the budget and the board approved it. Therefore, we have always had a fragmented budget which lacks visibility in the execution of public expenses. And today, the board acknowledges our effort, admitting that Puerto Rico is closer to complying with Promesa law. In 2025, last year, we issued an executive board in which we created an interagency budget committee to centralize the OMB to make the budget. And in the first 6 months, OMB implemented an intelligent tool that has helped us to monitor public expenses. It wasn't easy, but it has allowed us to have more visibility about our income and expenses, have the data, and have a centralized manual where we can use the best budget practices for all of the government agencies. This is not easy, and it's the first time that we have budget targets so that each agency can comply. And this we did before without any government collaboration. This is achieved by the public officers of the Office of Management and Budget, which have had historic trends in the last 3 years, leading us to a new type of government. And these guides also include allocations that have allowed us to work on real time. These allocations include $44 million to update the payment for our police officers, as I promised last December. I said I would do it, and I did. And I have to say it plainly, because this year we lost two law officers complying for the law. And they get up in the mornings, and their family members don't know if they will come back home safe and sound. These people that put their lives on the line need to have payment that pay at least, or at least recognize and acknowledge their sacrifices and the work that they do. Our police officers are very well equipped today. And I'm not talking about $100 or $200 increase. I'm talking about a change in all payment scales from cadets, colonels, lieutenants, sergeants. It's about time to have payment scales that can be reviewed every 3 years and are not part of any government administration. This is why in this budget, we have included these line items to honor the men and women in blue for the sacrifice that you do. This legislator and the government recognizes your sacrifices, and this is why we have identified this line item to improve your pay scales starting on July 1st this year. Thank you, Police Superintendent. I have to thank you because since you came in, you had many tasks, and one was to clean the junkers that we had in all of the police stations of old vehicles. And the list that he gave me together with the Director of Public Buildings to start updating and retrofitting all the police stations. This is why we have bought new patrols, new equipment, so that the police is equipped to do their job and do it well. Thanks, Mr. Superintendent. In this budget, we have $20 million to guarantee an increase in payment for corrections officers. And according to the law, this have been issued, but we have never separated the funds in our budget. And last year, after the budget was approved, we had to identify those resources because my word is gold. And even though when we had not identified it, we found them. And I thank the Secretary of Corrections for this. And now our officers are ready to do their job. I have to say that I still haven't talked about police officers, and I will talk about this later on. This budget includes $20 million for the housekeepers program for taking care of our elderly, our adults. We are increasing the amount of what was allotted last year. This was part of our program commitment to take care of our older folks. And this is in addition to the $35.5 million that we distributed to the municipalities for the housekeepers and other essential services. This is additional funds. And I want to let you know that in this budget, we also included $82.1 million for permanent improvements in roads in Puerto Rico, and add to that $94 million that we announced 1 month ago for different municipalities, for a total of $176 million for tar, repaving, for patching and fixing our roads to have more road safety in the 78 municipalities of Puerto Rico. Not in some and others not. Because all of the municipalities, we cannot see them as red or blue. We live in them, and we must have access to the best roads possible. So this is why in this budget, We have also included $228 million for the municipalities in Puerto Rico. And I have to make a parenthesis to acknowledge the work of our men and women in the municipalities. Our municipalities are the front line, the first phase. Anytime there's a situation, they go out there to solve them. And I must say that in the last years, I have been visiting them, taking the heads of agencies and visited 40 municipalities to help them solve problems. And out of this $228 million in the accountability fund, the fund for the disposal of solid waste, these are earmarked so that the municipalities can continue its operations. Thanks to all the mayors for the work they do. In this budget, we have also included $23.7 million to strengthen the Medicaid system, $11.1 million for maritime transportation service for the municipality islands of Vieques and Culebra. So there's no an excuse that there's no money. We assign them in this budget, and we will improve the service to the municipality islands. And thanks to both mayors. And by the way, they are going to repave most of Vieques and Culebra with the funds that we assigned, and they will have the best roads in Puerto Rico. Under this budget, I also included something that was mentioned last year. Last year, I came here and I told each and every one of you that I could see how some families could not afford childcare. And sometimes they had to stay home because they did not have childcare, so they couldn't work. So we identified a pilot program, and we have some childcare homes. I promised it last year. I complied, and we are allotting $11.5 million for care for families that do not qualify for federal programs for child care, because the working class is in the middle, and a lot of times they don't qualify because they don't have enough money, but they don't have enough to pay for mortgage, gas, or medication. We're also including $17 million to strengthen services for citizens, substitute citizens for our elderly and disabled populations. Because if we take care of our elderly, we take care of Puerto Rico. This is why I thank the Secretary of Family for the work that they have done this year to take care of this population. As part of this budget, we are also including $4.5 million to improve the pay scales for resident doctors of the University of Puerto Rico. The doctors are leaving, so we have to pay them better. And this is why we are including these resources here, so we don't lose this great opportunity. And later on, I will explain how we're going to do it. This budget also includes $5.8 million to improve the payment scales for nurses in the cardiovascular center, in addition to $1.6 million for recruitment and retention of specialists in the cardiovascular center of Puerto Rico. This is nothing new. Just as last year, and I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Secretary of Health for his wonderful work. Thanks. And he has identified the payment scales as we did in the fund for nurses and in the Department of Health, and we'll do it for all of the nurses in Puerto Rico. This budget reflects a focused agenda on our people and the best use of resources to boost a new vision for investment and fiscal stability. Now, I'm going to quickly speak about fiscal and finance affairs, and I will do so quickly. I want to have a shorter address than last year. We have talked about very important things. And how are we attaining all of these goals? With fiscal responsibility. Something that's very important is savings. For fiscal year 2024, we recorded $5.8 billion in contracts for the government of Puerto Rico. And for 2026, my first budget as a governor, we reduced it to $4.9 billion, which is a reduction of $904.2 million in contracts with the government of Puerto Rico, establishing a new record of efficiency and transparency. This is an achievement that has never seen before, thanks to the regulations of hiring that were implemented from the beginning of my administration. And I want to thank the Director of the Office of Budget and Management and the Secretary of AFAF for their excellent work. Without those savings, we cannot have a lot of the things that we're talking about today. The agencies are focusing in aligning their expenses with a certified budget, implementing internal controls, and reducing any type of expenses, including purchases. For the first time since we have the Oversight Board since 2016, Puerto Rico is not only responding to the guidelines of the board, but now we lead the budget process and fiscal accountability as protagonists. And this is the foundation on which our government lies to comply with the work that we promised the people of Puerto Rico. This is why 2 weeks ago we filed 2 bills to strengthen the fiscal stability. One was the Senate Project 1237 and 1261, which created a stabilization reserve fund for the budget, a mechanism to strengthen the fiscal resiliency of the government in face of economic fluctuations or a reduction of income without having shortfalls, and not going into debt, and guaranteeing essential services. And I would like to make a parenthesis because this is a practice that's used in the U.S. and we are implementing in Puerto Rico. The other project is 1238 and 1262, which created a public capital projects fund, establishing a framework to plan, give priority, and execute public investment in infrastructure, separating it from operational costs. And simply said, how many times we see the buildings and construction of buildings that they don't have money for maintenance. This is what the Public Capital Projects Fund is for. This is why we need to do capital projects at 5 years and not annually. This is why they both reflect the best financial practices that the National Association of State Budget Officers has recommended, and the board has ratified, and I hope that the legislature approves. And these projects lead us to work in a strategic planning. We need to work with comply with the established goals, and this includes efficiency. Something that for over 20 years the government has done is that we operated 6 different financial accounting systems, and the ERP will centralize them and allow the government of Puerto Rico for the first time to monitor real-time expenses and incomes and purchases. This is control and efficiency. And I inherited this. It had been established for about 10 years, and I renegotiated a contract that I believed had not been able to be executed. So both the directors of AFAF and OMB established the metrics and accountability. And if it wasn't complied, they would have to pay the government, or the people rather, of Puerto Rico. And what happened? With a committee and designated people, we can announce today that we have the first module of finances and purchases in Puerto Rico on July 7th. And finally, we will be able to publish financial statements of Puerto Rico in a timely fashion something that all of the government agencies will be able to see in real time. From planning, we're moving to action. And these are the results of a fiscal transparency that guarantees the good use of public resources in order to comply with our people. In March, Moody's Ratings published for the first time in 5 years a report about Puerto Rico, highlighting record employment figures in fiscal discipline, economic resiliency, and improvements for our electric grid. This improves the perception of others about Puerto Rico, and it has real effect on our people because it opens the doors for better financing capabilities, better investment in essential services, and it leads us to access to capital markets according to PROMESA. Because this fiscal discipline allows us directly to give a relief to our pockets. And this leads us to what I talked to you about last year. I talked about programmatic commitments of relieving our people, putting money on their pockets. And I can talk that this work is being felt today. The Treasury Department approved $2.2 billion in reimbursements to over 1 million taxpayers. A total of 742,000 taxpayers claimed credit for a total of $1.5 billion. And this relief doesn't end here. Last year, we announced the first phase of a tax reform with 12 out of 14 laws passed. And what does it include? The amendments include for you to have savings in the ABLE accounts for disabled people. It made more flexible giving tax exemptions for nonprofits. We gave a deduction to savings accounts in education. That was our promise, and we complied. We had less taxes on inventory for medications in Puerto Rico. We promised to deduct the contributions for IRA accounts. We simplified and made more uniform filing the taxes for businesses and the transfer of agencies' information. We adjusted the tax rates applicable for future investors. We promised it and we complied. We also made more uniform collections of the tax EVU in SURI. And we also gave some provisions for bona fide farmers. We simplified the compliance. We granted benefits and taxes for hospitals. We granted a tax exemption on income on rental properties in Puerto Rico. And we also gave a tax exemption on income on the earnings of real estate for the main property of the seller. So otherwise, they would have had to pay even more in capital gains. All of these measures helped people have savings, and it also allowed us these tax measures not to become a headache. And they are a reality thanks to a task force that worked together with the legislature and our government. And I thank the secretaries of AFAF and the Treasury Department for giving this, which is allowing our taxpayers to breathe. But we still need more. I want people to have more money in their pockets. That's why in January, we filed the second phase of the tax reform. For the first time since 2011, trying to reduce the tax rates for our middle classes. Some homes that make over $61,500 are subject to the highest bracket 33%. And I think it's one of the highest in the nation. This is why in the second phase, we're trying to reduce these tax rates in all of the line items so that at least we finally have a well-deserved tax relief. And obviously, we have to present this to the Oversight Board and the legislature. But I believe that just as we approved the joint resolution and the Fiscal Board approved Cheque para ti, or a check for you, these people that make less than $150,000 will see this month $554 million directly in their pockets, the biggest amount returned to our taxpayers in the history of Puerto Rico. This is why this check is just not a piece of paper. It is an example of what we can do if we pass and approve a total tax reform. In the Treasury Department, we met once again with the private sector, and we are open to that discussion to talk about a total tax reform. Thanks to our fiscal discipline, we have authorized over $101 million of municipal financing for infrastructure and community development work. At the same time, we disbursed $241 million of a special additional tax and $209 million that have allowed the municipality to pay their payroll and continue offering essential services. Once again, I thank the municipalities for their work. Now, how can we give incentives to economic development? Last year, I talked about reactivating the manufacturing sector. I said this will be the focus of our administration to be a competitive jurisdiction once again. And I traced our road. And we have an aggressive public policy, not only in manufacturing, but also in pharmacy, operations, aerospace. And I would like to thank the DTEC for the fruit of our labor. Currently, over 20 worldwide agencies have decided to open operations in Puerto Rico or expand them. So we're not only talking about promesa, but concrete results. Thanks to the juridical framework, thanks to the Executive Order 2025-012, which have a new strategy of reshoring, the numbers speak for themselves. 5,700 new jobs in manufacturing with 3 companies that will establish in Puerto Rico or expand operations for a total of new investment in Puerto Rico in 1 year of $2.6 billion. Companies such as Amgen, Eli Lilly, Stryker, Pharmacential, Solex, Terumo, Cooper Vision, Onovexa, and others are opening in different municipalities. And even buildings that were closed for many years, such as the old Novartis factory in Humacao or Microsoft in Humacao that now are reopening. And something important, last year I said that we were going to earmark resources for the West. We are looking for investments to establish these companies in the West, and we are seeing them in Mayagüez, Aguada, and in the East Coast. We are redesignating our manufacturing route in all of Puerto Rico. And what are the results? The results is unemployment of 5.6%, which is the lowest sustainable rate in the history of Puerto Rico. And these are not words. I'm talking about real numbers. We have the largest labor participation in the past 16 years with 44.5%. It's not just words, these are facts. And a record in the private sector of 767,400 jobs, the highest in our history. Those are the figures. Those are the results. And for a total job number of 1,165,000 people working in March of 2026, the highest level since 2008. And we have the Secretary of Labor here, and correct me if I'm wrong. But these are concrete results together with public policy, state policies, and federal grants. And I thank the work that is done in all of the agencies in being so aggressive in seeking this business. Exports, and that's how you measure whether it's good or not. Puerto Rico closed last year with $62.4 billion, an increase of 3.6% compared to the previous year, and a commercial balance of $7.4 billion, an increase of 30% more, hear me well, compared to last year. Puerto Rico is once again the mecca of manufacturing. Over 46% of our economy is in manufacturing, and together we will continue expanding it. And the construction industry is not far behind. I talked about rebar and cement, and they recorded purchases of $15.56 million of cement bags, which is a 6.6% increase as compared to last year, and a production of 8.87 million bags, an 8.2% increase as compared to last year, which means we have improved in all areas. In entrepreneurship, we created 25,437 new corporations. In 2025, an increase of 16.1% versus 2024. Once again, the highest figure in the history of Puerto Rico. The number of active businesses in Puerto Rico increased to 51,214, an increase of 2.3%. And as part of our economic development strategy, tourism is one of the sectors that we are cultivating, and it's seeing increase. In 2025, we received over 7 million visitors in Puerto Rico, including 1.6 million passengers in over 563 cruise ships visiting our island. We want to consolidate ourselves as a leader hub in the Caribbean, thanks to the expansions of Royal Caribbean with a projected impact of $58 million in 2027, with 71 stops. Carnival, with an estimated impact of $32 million for 2027 and 2028. Next year, Puerto Rico will be the main partner of Fitur in 2027, the main tourist platform, which will represent an impact of $90 million on our economy, and it will open the doors to the European market. And I thank the director of the tourism office and the director of the ports for the impact they have created so that Puerto Rico is positioned in these areas. We need more ports. So mayors who have access to the sea, we are doing the corresponding studies to see if we can have more ports to receive more cruise boats, and so that Miami is not the only departure point, including Puerto Rico, with Ponce, Mayagüez, Ceiba, and San Juan as destination points. These are facts that represent the work of my government in numbers. They are transparent results, clear, it's not mere words, and this is the foundation on which we're building. So this is why this investment must be true. And we need a regulatory framework that allows us to improve the complex permits reforms system with 45 dispersed laws that are fragmented and contradictory, and they punish those who produce and work and stagnates the economy. This is why we're presenting a new planning and permits code, working it as a law, and we have waited for over a year to present it, and this legislature is evaluating it. And I trust that by the end of this session, we will have a project that will allow us, a bill that will allow us to have one only agency, to have just one code, one regulation, one standard that will expedite the transactions, and that there's a balance between economic development and environmental protections. The environmental protections are part of the code. They have not been modified. The permits central office should be the only one to
puedan dedicar sus recursos no a estar en un escritorio, pero a estar en la calle haciendo ese cumplimiento. Yo quiero terminar con las historias de frustración de los días, del tiempo en espera, de una espera de un 80% porque la evaluación de los permisos debe ser proporcional al riesgo. Casi el 30% de los costos de construcción en Puerto Rico están ligados directamente a los permisos. Si bajamos ese costo de permisos, podemos también bajar el costo de construcción y por lo menos tener más viviendas asequibles. Y de eso vamos a hablar más adelante. Confío que podamos llegar a acuerdos sobre esto. También aprovecho la oportunidad para dirigirme a nuestros alcaldes nuevamente. Yo voy a seguir hablando de los alcaldes porque cada vez que hay una situación son ellos los primeros que responden. Y por eso me paso ante la Junta defendiendo las asignaciones de fondos y de los trabajos que ellos hacen. Sus jerarquías permanecen y no se tocan. Sus planes de ordenamiento territorial se mantienen. Por eso firmé las revisiones de los planes de los municipios de Loíza, Quebradilla, Sabana Grande, Bayamón, San Sebastián, Adjuntas, Calley, Aguadilla, Sidra, Vega Alta, Dorado, San Lorenzo y Arroyo, y algo que no se había hecho en años. Y también aprobé la transferencia de facultades al municipio de Aguadilla, que lo está haciendo muy bien. Es el momento que nuestros municipios puedan echar para adelante teniendo las herramientas y que el gobierno no sea un obstáculo, sino que los ayude a poder tener desarrollo económico. Hago estas menciones porque creo que hemos logrado avances importantes y creo que esa tasa de adjudicación de permisos en el 2025 de un 93%, un aumento de un 81% en permisos nuevos, el aumento en adjudicación de permisos de construcción de un 85% para el mismo periodo, más de 850 proyectos prioritarios ya aprobados con esta orden ejecutiva y bajar, para mí es bien importante bajar los términos en los que se atienden todo este tipo de cosas, reducir el tiempo de espera en los famosos permisos únicos, que no son tan únicos cuando tienen que ir a tantas agencias. Por eso está el proyecto de reforma de permisos, queremos un solo permiso. Y en vez de tener 82 días, bajarlo a 11. Y en los permisos de construcción de 97 a 29. Y en permisos discrecionales de 265 días a 49. Y en las determinaciones ambientales de 17 a 5. Yo quiero firmar ese nuevo código de permiso, con los cambios que incluyan, pero que le podamos decir al mundo que Puerto Rico no va a ser la última jurisdicción en los Estados Unidos para hacer negocios y que vamos a darle certeza para nuestro desarrollo económico, para promover la prosperidad, la libertad económica que queremos y evaluar y elevar el desarrollo de nuestra isla. Quiero hablar de educación. Educación es clave para todo lo que vamos a hacer. Hablamos de manufactura hace unos minutos, pero si no tenemos el personal, una de las grandes cosas que tiene el traer toda esta manufactura aquí es precisamente nuestra capacidad, nuestra gente, nuestro talento, nuestras escuelas de ingeniería. Desarrollar nuestra economía también debe ser enfocarnos en nuestra fuerza laboral. Y el año pasado yo vine aquí a prometer que íbamos a tener escuelas bilingües. Y como producto de la escuela pública, quiero agradecerle al secretario de Educación y al equipo porque estamos cumpliendo
Education, we have bilingual schools, and we are also specializing in STEM schools, and we have also increased the amount of bilingual schools so that our children that cannot pay for private schools can also speak good English. And before developing an academic curriculum, these students must have schools that motivate them to learn. The back to school last year was completely different. The schools were ready, it was a success, and it was recognized as such with an investment of over $69.5 million in public buildings. Additional to the improvements of the Department of Education that habilitated 289 schools for the school year. Under the initiative, I Love My School, Quiero a mi escuela, each agency adopted a school and retrofitted them. And this is why this year we're going to do the same. I want to thank the Director of Public Buildings, and Omed, for what they're doing. But this has gone beyond and above. With all of these 56 active schools in the bilingual school program, we incorporated 24 new schools, and I think that we will have 100 by the end of the year. And as part of the regular curriculum, we are adding 21 specialized schools. We trained 279 school teachers in technology, and we distributed 89,981 computers in 849 schools to 240,000 students. With an investment of $8.5 million, we created 3 schools of performance arts and entrepreneurship. We also expanded practical opportunities through alliances and partnerships with 6 municipalities, private companies, and the UPR. This is part of our platform. We promised it, and we complied to create the Academy for the families and students in special education to empower them to support their children. And I want to do a parenthesis. I saw some schools say that they have not been paid since January. When I got to this administration, there was debt of over $80 million for special ed services. Last year, we were up to date. And this March, the secretary told us, and we went to the oversight board and identified the funds to make this payment. So now we are waiting for the oversight board to authorize it to make the corresponding payments. And it is not because the governor of Puerto Rico has not paid. We identified the funds. And the Department of Education also increased their capabilities to attend or take care of autistic students by certifying 503 teachers in the system and give them inclusion strategies to work with autistic students. And we worked hand in hand with SER of Puerto Rico. And I thank all of the staff of the Education Department who have been in many trainings so that everybody has the same opportunities and there's no obstacle for our students to have the best tools to fulfill their dreams. And this is why I must say that we will find the resources so that with this budget on July 1st, SER de Puerto Rico will have a record allotment of $1 million that will help them to develop therapies and resources for our special conditions children, because the work that SER of Puerto Rico cannot be done by the government. Thanks for those of you who support SER, those who have been there, the President of the House, and all of you who have supported this initiative. Let's give them more so that they can continue helping Puerto Rico. In August, we also implemented
Otra cosa que prometimos
Another thing that we had promised and
El curso de
we
salud
complied,
emocional como
the
requisito
emotional
mandatorio para los estudiantes del
course,
sistema de
emotional
educación pública.
health course,
Este
it's
esfuerzo le permite a los
mandatory.
estudiantes
It's a
desarrollar
requirement for the
destrezas para
students of the
manejar
public system.
sus emociones y
This
tomar
course
decisiones
gives them
saludables para
tools to
impactar
handle
su
their
calidad de vida,
emotions,
manejar
make
la ira,
healthy
manejar
decisions
sus
that will
emociones y,
impact
por lo tanto,
directly their
tratar de
quality of
evitar la
life
violencia
and
futura.
anger
Este proyecto que hemos
management,
logrado
and it
impulsar
will
es novel
benefit their
y
future
atiende
lives.
directamente a
This
nuestros
is a
niños y su
very
futuro,
noble
y lo que
project
buscamos es
that
prevenir la
takes care
violencia
of our
y
children
atenderlo
and their future.
de
And
manera
what we
temprana.
want is to avoid
Yo
violence
pudiera
and
seguir hablando
stem it
de
as a root,
educación,
cut it at the
pero
root.
quiero moverme
I want to
a otras
continue
áreas.
talking about
En
education, but I
educación
want to move on.
teníamos un third party.
In education, we had a
Teníamos o
third
tenemos
party, or
un
we still do.
requisito.
There is a
Históricamente, el
requirement.
gobierno federal le impuso
Historically,
unas
the
condiciones al
federal
gobierno de Puerto Rico
government
que nos
imposed
cuestan dinero.
conditions to
Y tengo que
the
decir que cuando
government of
llegamos al
Puerto Rico
gobierno en
that
enero del
cost
año
us money.
pasado,
And
estábamos
last
en
January, when I came
3%
to
de
this
cumplimiento.
administration, we were in
En el
3%
2019, el gobierno
compliance.
federal le exigió
In
al gobierno de Puerto
2019,
Rico
the federal
contratar
government
un
demanded
síndico para
that
asegurar
we
la
should hire a
administración
trustee
financiera
to ensure the
de las
financial
subvenciones
management
federales y
of federal
establecer
grants
controles
and
internos
establish
para
internal
establecer
controls
nóminas, recursos
to
humanos,
have
compras, adjudicaciones, contabilidad,
payroll,
finanzas,
human
administración
resources,
y hacer un plan
improve
de
the
acción
processes
correctiva.
for
Literalmente
purchasing,
todo.
adjudications,
Este
accounting,
síndico
financing,
controlaba el
management,
Departamento de
everything.
Educación.
This
Y
trustee
cuando llegamos, los
controlled
objetivos,
the education
obviamente,
department.
de cumplimiento
And
eran
when
muy bajos,
I
menos
got
del
to my
5%.
administration, the
Una tercera parte de los
objectives
objetivos
of
estaban ni se habían
fulfillment were
establecido.
less than
Hoy tengo que
5%.
decir
Many of the
que
objectives
gracias
had not
al
even
liderato
been
del
started.
secretario de
And I
Educación
must say that today, thanks to the
equipo de trabajo,
leadership of the Secretary of
Educación
Education
completó el
and his team,
99%
they
del plan
completed
integral de acción
99%
correctiva,
of the
con más
corrective
de
action
120
plan
iniciativas de
with
control
over
fiscal,
120
y como resultado de
initiatives
ese
of
trabajo
fiscal
y
control.
de nuestra
And as
visita
a
a
result
Washington, el
of their work
Departamento de
and our
Educación
visit to
aprobó
Washington,
la
the
salida del
Education
síndico
Department
federal
approved
para noviembre
the
de
ousting
este año.
of the federal
Esto es un
trustee
logro que
in November
representa
of
la
this year,
confianza del
which
gobierno
is an
federal en nuestra
achievement
capacidad
that
para
represents
administrar
the
los
trust of the
recursos de una
federal
manera
government
responsable
in our
y del
government
sistema
to
que
manage
decidió
resources
trabajar primero por nuestros
responsibly,
niños y por
and
nuestra
our
gente.
government that decided
Nos
to
vamos
work
a
for
ahorrar
their children and our
150
people.
millones
We
de
are going to
dólares.
save
Un
$150
ahorro
million,
anual
an
de
annual
72
saving
millones
of
que lo vamos a
32
destinar en
million
nuestros
that
niños
will be
y en
earmarked
nuestros
for our
maestros.
children and
Esto es un paso
teachers.
histórico
This is a
que
historic
representa
step
estabilidad.
that represents
Felicidades, secretario, y
stability.
a todo el equipo
And
del
I
Departamento de
congratulate the
Educación.
Secretary of Education and his team.
Si yo no menciono eso,
If I
con
didn't
el
say
trabajo
that,
que ha dado eso
after
el
how
pasado
much
año,
we have worked on that last year, wow.
pero tengo que decir que eso no se queda ahí.
But it doesn't stop
Prometimos
there.
también
We also promised
que teníamos un problema de reclutamiento
that
en
we
educación.
have
¿Ustedes
a
recuerdan cada vez que
recruitment
empezaba un inicio
problem
escolar, no había
in
maestros,
the Department of Education.
habían
Do you
principales,
remember that at
no
the
habían
beginning of the
trabajadores sociales,
semester there was
no
no
habían
teachers,
enfermeros?
social
hicimos?
secretaries, nurses,
Le dimos la
so,
permanencia a
social
los
workers?
directores
So what
escolares
did we
para
do?
acabar
We gave
con esa situación,
permanency to the
firmando la
school
ley
directors
86 del 2025.
by passing law
Y
number
gracias a esa
86,
labor también del
2025.
secretario,
And thanks to
le
the
otorgamos el
Secretary's
estatus
work,
regular
we
a
also gave
844
regular status to
enfermeros escolares,
844
la
school
permanencia a
nurses,
775
permanency to
maestros, y un
775
ajuste salarial
teachers,
al mínimo
and a
federal
wage
de
adjustment to
$11
the federal
por hora
minimum
para
of $11 an hour
1,621
for
empleados no docentes. Eso es verdadero progreso y
1,621
compromiso
employees who
cumplido
are
en el
not in
Departamento de
the teaching
Educación.
sector. And this is real progress in the education department.
Justicia, seguridad.
Justice,
Hay gran
security.
preocupación sobre cómo
There's a
estamos
great
en nuestras
concern
calles.
of
Y ciertamente
how
para
we
que nuestra
live on our
economía se
streets,
desarrolle, nuestros
and
niños se
definitely
eduquen,
for
y para
our
que nuestros adultos mayores
economy
vivan
to
mejor,
grow, to
necesitamos
have
tener
better
calles
educated
seguras.
children
Y
and
esa
our elderly
responsabilidad
living safely, we need
viene
safe streets.
incluida con los
And this
largos turnos con
accountability
nuestros policías.
is part of the
Y yo
long shifts
quiero tomar
that our police
minuto
officers have to
de
comply with.
silencio
And I
por
want
aquellos
a
policías
minute
que
of
dieron el
silence
sacrificio
for
máximo
those
y
police
dieron su vida en el
officers who gave the
cumplimiento
greatest sacrifice,
Policías
their
caídos
lives
que
in
jamás
the
serán
line of
olvidados
duty.
y cuya memoria
Police
honramos.
officers who will never be
Quiero un momento
forgotten,
para que
and we
juntos
honor
honremos
their
al
memory.
coronel
I
Aníbal
would like to
Morales
honor
Aponte,
Colonel
placa 1, 2,
Aníbal
3, 7,
Aponte,
26, adscrito a la unidad
license
motorizada de Caguas, fallecido en el cumplimiento de deber
1-23726,
a consecuencia
part
de un
of
accidente
Caguas
de
motorized
tránsito,
unit,
y el
and
coronel
he
Eddie
died
Santiago
in
Renta,
the line of
placa
duty, and
31718,
Colonel Eddie Santiago
adscrito al
Renta,
negociado de
license
drogas, narcóticos y armas
31718,
ilegales y
who was
control del
under
vicio,
the Drugs
quien dio su
Bureau,
vida en un operativo de
Narcotics,
drogas en
Illegal
Ponce
Arms,
para
and Vice
proteger
Control
la
in
vida de
Ponce.
sus compañeros.
He gave his
El
life
coronel
protecting
Morales
his
Aponte contaba con
partners.
29 años de servicio en la
Coronel
Policía de Puerto
Aponte
Rico.
had
El
been
coronel
working for
Santiago Renta estaba
29
próximo
years
a
in the
cumplir
police.
23 años de
Coronel
servicio en la
Santiago
policía.
Renta was about
Reconozco
to
a sus familiares,
be there for
Vilma
23
Aponte
years.
Cruz y Natalia Camila
I
Morales,
acknowledge their family
familiares
members,
del coronel
Vilma Ponte
Morales
Cruz
Aponte,
and Natalia
a Elba
and Camila
González,
Morales,
a Edwin
family
Alvarado,
of Coronel
familiares
Aponte
del coronel
Morales
Santiago
Aponte,
Renta,
and
y los
Elba
invito
González
a que
and
me
Edwin
acompañen en un
Alvarado,
momento de silencio en
family
homenaje y
of
respeto
Santiago
a la
Renta.
memoria del
And
coronel
please, let's
Aníbal
have
Morales
a minute
Aponte
of
y del coronel
silence
Eddie
in
Santiago.
homage of Aníbal Morales Aponte and Eddie Santiago Renta.
Muchas gracias a todos.
Thank you so much.
Honrar a estos policías
Honoring these police officers and their family members
que es un saludo.
goes beyond
compromiso.
merely saluting them.
Por eso el trabajo
It
que
is
hace
a
nuestra
commitment,
policía,
and this is
de los
why
arrestos,
the
las
work done
ocupaciones
by
de
our
armas,
police officers,
las ocupaciones de drogas,
arresting,
el trabajo que se
seizing
hace con las
drugs,
agencias federales,
firearms,
el
in
reclutamiento
conjunction
de
with
más de
federal
400
agencies.
cadetes en lo que va de año fiscal,
We recruited over
la
400
reducción en el
cadets in this
tiempo de
fiscal year,
reclutamiento, el que ahora no
reducing the
tengamos
time
que
of
depender de un departamento de
recruitment,
seguridad pública
because
para
now
manejar los
we
asuntos de la
just don't
policía, y
need
tengamos una
a
policía
safety
separada
department,
como siempre debe
and
haber
we
sido
have
un
a
superintendente
police
de la policía con
department
las
that's
facultades
separate,
para tomar
a
acción,
police
con la
superintendent
justicia
that has
salarial
the
que les hablé
faculty
hace
to
unos
act
minutos,
with
con el
everything that I
reclamo que nos
mentioned
hicieron nuestros
before,
policías
with
sobre
the
esas escalas
claims
salariales.
done by
Y
the
tengo que
police
decir
officers for a
también
pay
por lo que
hike.
se está
And I must also
haciendo
say,
para
with
que
what
cada
we are
uno de
doing,
ellas,
so
cada
that
uno de ellas pueda
each
empezar
and every
a
one of
recibir
them
los
can
fondos a los que
start
tienen derecho y que
receiving the
nunca habían
funds
empezado a
that
cobrar
they
del
deserve
retiro de la policía.
and they
La
have never
actualización de las
gotten their
escalas
retirement
salariales
pension
refleja
for police officers.
potenciales
The
aumentos
the change
de
in the
hasta
pay
$9,000
scale
en algunos casos.
reflects
algunos
increases
rangos.
of almost
Yo estoy consciente de lo
$9,000
que
in
representa
some
eso para cada uno
ranges, in
de
some
ellos.
ranks. And I know what
Consciente
this
también de
represents
los
for them.
ascensos que hemos estado
And I'm
firmando
also aware
recientemente.
of
Por
the
eso,
promotions that
les
we have
digo a
signed
nuestros
for
policías,
recently.
no
This
vamos
is
a
why
terminar
I
aquí.
tell you, police officers,
Vamos a seguir
this is
buscando
not
cómo
the end.
mejorar
We
sus
are going to
condiciones de trabajo
continue
para
improving
que
your
puedan
working
seguir echando
conditions
pa'lante a Puerto
so that
Rico y
you
podamos
can
seguir reclutando
move
policías
forward
más allá de
and
lo que
make
se nos
Puerto
requiere.
Rico a better place and continue recruiting better officers.
Nos falta mejorar.
We still
Nos falta
need
mejorar
improvements though,
otras escalas salariales para
and we
otros
need to
sectores
improve other pay scales
Por
for
eso
other
hemos
public
continuado
sectors.
con la
This is
implementación
why we have
de la reforma
continued
del servicio
implementing
para
the
actualizar los
public
planes de
service
clasificación y
reform
retribución
to
al personal de
update the
carrera y de
pay scales
confianza
for
la OAPDH,
career officers
junto a la OTRH,
together
identificar la
with
junta y hacer- y
ATH
así poder
and
hacerle justicia
so
a
that we can
todos los
make
servidores
justice for
públicos.
all of
Este
the
gobierno se
public
mantiene
service.
en ese trabajo.
And the
También
government
estamos
continues
fortaleciendo la
working as such.
capacidad
We are also strengthening the capabilities of our Justice Department by naming 127 new prosecutors, and we have trained all of these professionals, including 45 new judges. And I want to thank the Secretary of Justice for her work, because this yields better investigations, more evidence, more cases that have been prosecuted successfully. And I have also to acknowledge that as a program commitment, we have a better prosecutor's office to work with our elderly and give them the attention that they deserve. And this is already happening in the Justice Department, and we have money to take care of financial exploitation of the elderly with the Police Department and Justice Department having sensitive attention, specialized and coordinated for our older folks so that they're not victims, as we have seen. Since we created this unit, we have taken care of 418 cases, and 405 have been filed, and we have charged 234 people protecting our older people. We have seen that the shelters of witnesses and victims are not up to par, and they don't provide the services needed. This is why we committed ourselves with this budget to work in rehabilitation the victims' shelters to give them the treatment that they deserve. Madam Secretary, we have allotted the funds to refurbish the shelter for victims of any crime. We have increased the housing inventory with over 300 housing units, and we have the mayor of Naguabo here. I have been there to give houses to people. I've also visited Barceloneta, Guayama, Humacao, and we started with these housing units because we don't want to wait to finish construction. We had people who had a dream of owning their own home. Now we have over 15 multifamily projects in construction, thanks to federal grants that represent 2,856 housing units being built at this time. How are we doing it? By executing, having a vision, and helping the housing agency. I help young people to purchase their first house, and with the program that we created, Down Payment for Your House, Pronto Pa Tu Casa, our young people can receive a maximum of $60,000 to cover for the charges of their closing costs and down payment. In 4 months, we have received over 1,400 applications and helped 157 families, and we have disbursed over 7.1 million, helping young people to buy over 145 homes. Also, we have the program that gives direct assistance to the buyer, and over 4,000 people have benefited with over $182 million. We're helping people to buy their dream home, and we are doing justice to people who want to have a property titleship without doing so. So that's why last year I said that we have granted over 600 property titles. And I want to tell you today that we have granted over 2,100 titles, an amount never seen before. And this is social justice for our people who now know that they own a home. I recognize certain families that are with us today that fought for years to get that piece of paper, that property title, and finally, thanks to the housing department and its staff, they got it. Congratulations to Norma Ramirez Torres and her husband, Jose Rivera Lopez, Sandra Santiago Vasquez and her husband, Aníbal Ramos, their son, Aníbal Alexander, Josefina Matos Correa, and Diana Almodovar, Rafael Pereira Roldan, and Olga Alamo, his wife, and Mirna Rodriguez. People who are here, living people who have now their property title, and you know that God will always provide. They never gave up. In the next weeks, we will be visiting, because this doesn't stop there. We are going to continue doing people justice as Don Luis A. Ferré taught us. And this is why in the housing department, we started the initiative Building 2026. We have a portfolio of 844 projects with CDBG funds to be built this year. It's revitalizing urban areas with an investment of $250 million and a construction of 700 housing units with an investment of $175 million. There's also big steps given in our public housing, and I want to thank the Secretary of Housing. Something that bothered me all the time is that you went to public housing, they had federal funds, and still they had humidity, no painting, administrators that were not on the field. And I promised that that would change. This is why we had a bidding process that had not been done for many years, and for 7 years, and we increased from 10 to 16 managers to guarantee a quality of life for our residents in the public housing. Now we have a total of 7 active projects, and thanks to public housing, we have 74 active projects, out of which 42 are being built, and we have 40 bids for sealing rooftops and painting the public housing, so that we increase also the residence councils. We had 57 last year, now we'll have 170 of such councils, so that our public housing has a voice and spokespeople. I promise, and I will comply. Let's leave bureaucracy and red tape behind. Let's execute. This is why we increased the funds in 7% for housing compared to 2024. Now we have $1.3 billion for the department. And this is about complying with people in the flesh and bone, not just for a resume. And this is using federal funds, and we promise that we will do it. And I thank the Trump administration that has facilitated this in housing, in education, energy, EPA, and in all of the federal agencies. The disbursement of federal funds since I came into this administration has been accelerated. In the first trimester of Core 3, we had 746 applications for reimbursement, and we released $200 million. In this same quarter, 2026, we received 1,291 applications, an increase in 71%, and we have disbursed $258 million, an increase of 29%. In December 2024, we had 11,400 projects in different stages of construction, from planning to the building. In December 2025, we have over 14,000. By December 2024, we completed 4,261. December 2025, 5,492. In the first year of my administration, 25% of the projects in public housing advanced in other planning phases, which represented over 3,300 installations and $1.69 billion. I appreciate the director of Core 3, Eduardo Soria, for his great job. We said that in transportation, we were also going to talk about mudslides. We have some mayors that are from the mountains. And when you go there, you see two lanes. And I know Don Bollito here, and he knows what I'm talking about. And what happens when there's mudlight and we don't take care of it? Then we run the risk of closing the road and people cannot circulate. This is why in this message I talked about taking care of the rural areas. And in compliance with that executive order, the Transportation Administration allotted $40 million. And we identified over 141 mudslides. We completed 57, 58 are in construction, and 26 about to start. We have corrected mudslides that go from little money to millions of dollars, 75K. So we talked about Barranquita, San Sebastián, Adjuntas, Morovis, Villalba, Camuy, Naranjito, and others. Some had not been repaired since Hurricane Maria. Some families that see they see better work, construction work. And you will see a lot of drums, the orange drums. That means that we're building roads. We had 94 millions for improving the roads. And I promise the mayors that we will take care of roads that in 20 years had not been even seen. And in less than 1 year, we have identified $134 million for repairing the roads. And in addition, it's $370 million for real projects, and we're including $82 million for our roads in all of the 78 municipalities of Puerto Rico. Health. To take care of our people means to improve our health system. Last year, I spoke about the trauma center in the hospital Centro Médico of Puerto Rico. Has a classification of 3, and I promised to elevate it to 1. With an investment of $140 million, for the first time in its history, Puerto Rico will have a trauma hospital designed to take care of conditions holistically. The building will have over 7 floors and 100 rooms. We have complied with 70% of the requirements for accreditation in level 1. And I want to thank the Secretary of Health and the Director of ASEM for their work. We are building not only a hospital, we're building hope. Behind every advance, we have a mother, a child that can be saved with a trauma level 1. And I must acknowledge the efforts of Dr. Regino Colón and his team. And this doesn't stop here. Vieques never had permanent medical facilities since Hurricane Maria. But the people of Vieques are closer to have health services without leaving the island of Vieques. The dialysis center of the new health center is already operating and licensed since October 2025. Because one thing is opening without licenses. Since October last year, we have the licenses to operate the dialysis center, and we have the infusion centers, conductual health, heliport, and the requirements for the weak, the women and infants and children's services, and demographic registration. This building is not a white elephant anymore. The dialysis patients are getting services. The heliport was accredited by FAA, and the services and equipment that needed is being purchased, and the operational licenses are almost ready. After so many years of management, we have delivered operationally with all of the certifications in less than 12 months. And in addition, we have completed the plans and received endorsements to build the new emergency room in San Lorenzo. We are finalizing the opening of the emergency room in a diagnostic center in Vega Baja. We also have a new one in Ceiba, and the CDT in Maunabo is 58% completed. This, what it means, is taking care of the health of our people in all of Puerto Rico. All of these facilities need doctors. The studies show that 36% of graduates of medical residents leave the island. This is why, for the next academic year, and with this budget, we identified 136 new positions for the graduate medicine program for a total of 859 spots with an investment of $44.98 million, an increase of $5.85 million for medical residences in Puerto Rico. Better doctors, better facilities, better professionals to save the lives of our people. Now, there's something that we must talk about. We created an executive order and a multi-sectoral group to talk about Medicaid, to have one voice in Washington to ensure the financing of the Plan Vital, which is the services that 1.3 million people get in Puerto Rico, as we did in 2022 when I was resident commissioner, and we ensured its stability until 2027. With different levels of federal financing. And we, by federal law, should get 76 cents per dollar. Under President Trump's administration, he gave us 100% of federal funds for 2 years. And now we're down to 76 cents per dollar. We need to increase it. I thank the private sector, the resident commissioner, and all of you who have joined forces. We have to speak together with one voice. When something is important for our people, we cannot have partisanship. Colors cannot divide us. Together, with an urgency effort, we will do it, because without health, we are nothing. Now, I want to talk about two issues. Two basic needs and two issues and problems that our people have: drinking water and electric energy. For many years, we were hostages to operators who did not comply, government structures that did not execute, and people who criticized but did nothing about it. And we have solved it. Thank God we have an energy czar who is responsible of supervising agencies and coordinating efforts with the federal government. And it's a pleasure to inform you that we have increased the electric generation with 1,600 megawatts for generation, and we have improved the critical units of Palo Seco 3, Mayagüez 4, and Cambalache 3, adding them to the system, which means that we have increased to 1,200 megawatts and now 1,600 megawatts of additional generation. And plainly, this means that all of the blackouts that were forecasted for last year, thank God didn't happen, we are going to shield you from them with generation. And this was what really took my sleep away. It was my biggest vulnerability. The energy czar calls me at 1 or 2 in the morning when these old plants are down, and we cannot replace them because there's no way for us to meet the energy demand. So hopefully we want to leave this in the past. There's no stopping me. This is why we have a bidding process to install 3,000 megawatts of new generation for energy that should be on the road and adjudicated, allotted by the end of this summer. And we allotted this contract last year for 600 or 800 megawatts, and the oversight board approved it.
987
of May.
megavatios adicionales
And
a
I want
nuestro
to
sistema
announce
de
today that
generación,
we added
con unidades que están en
937
proceso
additional
activo de reparación
megawatts
y
to our
modernización
generation
en la
system
central de San Juan,
with
Palo
units that
Seco,
are being
Aguirre,
repaired
Cambalache y
actively and
Mayagüez.
modernized
Yo sé que
in
ustedes me
San
escuchan
Juan,
hablar
Palo
mucho
Seco,
de
Aguirre,
megavatios.
Cambalache, and
Déjenme
Mayagüez.
explicarle por qué.
And you hear me
100
talk about
megavatios de
megawatts.
generación
And I tell you why.
representa energía para
100
60,000
megawatts
familias.
of generation represents energy
Con
for
más megavatios en el sistema
60,000
podemos
families.
reducir los
With
apagones
more
y los famosos
megawatts, we
relevos
can
de carga que
reduce
le
the
dañan los equipos a
blackouts
la gente.
and those
Para realizar
upcharges
las
that
reparaciones importantes
really
y poder
damage
convertir estas plantas viejas que
equipment
queman
for our
combustible a
families.
gas. Si
And
las
we want
cambiamos
to
a gas, los
repair
costos
these
de
plants
operación
and
bajan y por
convert
ende
them
el
to
costo
gas.
en tu factura
And hence,
eléctrica
the
también.
operation costs
Estas
will go
reparaciones
down
han sido
and
posibles
your energy bill.
gracias a que el Departamento
These
de Energía
repairs have
Federal
been
declaró
possible
a
because
principios
the
del año
Federal
pasado a
Energy
Puerto Rico en
Department
emergencia.
declared Puerto
A petición
Rico in
mía
an
al presidente
emergency
Trump,
state.
y le agradezco al
I
presidente y al
asked
secretario
President
Fiscal
Trump, and I
que
thank
4
him
veces
and
me ha
Secretary
extendido
Chris
esa
Wright
autorización
that
y me ha
have
permitido las
extended this
flexibilidades
authorization
para
for 4
reparar y
years
restaurar
and have given me
820 megavatios
flexibility
desde el año
to
pasado y evitar los
improve
relevos de carga masivos que
120
se esperaban
megawatts
para el año
since
pasado.
last May and
Agradezco
avoid the
muchísimo
overcharge
todos
that
los
was
esfuerzos con la
expected
EPA
in
y el
blackouts for last
Departamento del
year.
Interior y la
I thank
administración
the
del presidente
EPA,
para este
the
esfuerzo.
Interior
Parte de
Department,
esto
and President
nos
Trump
permitió
for
redirigir
helping us in this effort.
365 millones de
Thanks
dólares
to this, we were
federales
able
que
to
se estaban
redirect
invirtiendo en proyectos de generación
$365 million
y que ahora
in
los tenemos
federal
146
funds,
millones en proyectos de
which
transmisión y
had
distribución
$220
y
million
1.6 para
of
gastos de
investments in
cumplimiento
generation
requeridos por el
projects.
Departamento de
Now we
Energía
have
Federal. Todo
$146.8
esto
million
es parte del
on
trabajo que hemos
transmission and
estado haciendo
distribution
en Washington.
and 1.7
Reparaciones
million
para
to
añadir
cover
sobre
compliance
600
costs.
megavatios al sistema.
We have added
Instalaciones
over
de 4
600
transformadores
megawatts to
en
this
Caguas,
system,
Monacillo,
installed
Fajardo,
and energized
beneficiando
4
más de
transformers in
355,000
Caguas, Fajardo,
familias en
and
Puerto Rico
Monacillos,
y la reconstrucción
benefiting
de 5 líneas de transmisión
351,000
para beneficiar a
families
más de
and
120,000
reconstructing
familias.
over 5
Como parte de
transmission
todo
lines that
esfuerzo,
benefit
el negociado de energía
127,000
aprobó la
families.
conversión a gas natural
As part of
de
these
varias
repairs,
unidades en
the
San Juan
Energy
y Palo
Bureau
Seco.
approved the
Y
conversion
volvemos,
to
porque esto es
natural
importante.
gas in centrals in
Esas
San Juan
unidades antes
and Palo
funcionaban
Seco.
con diésel
This is
o
important
bunker C,
because
que es lo
before
más
they
caro,
worked with
y
diesel
pueden
or
ahora
bunker
operar
C,
con gas
which is the most
natural, que es más
expensive.
barato.
And
Y
now
eso
they
se
can use
traduce en
natural
que vamos
gas,
a bajar
which is
la
cheaper.
factura con ahorros
And
de
this
hasta
will be
95 millones de
translated
dólares
in
al año.
savings of up to
Ya empezamos
$95
también con la
million
instalación.
a
Cuando yo vine
year
aquí,
in your
el año
energy
pasado,
bills.
les hablé de instalar
We
baterías Tesla.
already started
Cogimos
installing
700
Tesla
millones de dólares en
batteries,
fondos
as I told you
federales para
last year.
instalar estas baterías a
And we
gran
got
escala, que
$700
nos van a
million
reducir en
in federal
90%
grants
los
to
apagones
install
por
these
relevo de
batteries
carga.
in great
Gracias al
scale. And they will
almacenamiento de más de 430
reduce
megavatios. Y esto nos
blackouts
permite
in
también ahorros
90%
de combustible
and to
cuando hay
store a
demanda aquí.
total of
Y cuando tengamos
430
esos
megawatts,
relevos, en
which
lugar de
will
encender
allow us
las plantas
savings
que
in
operan con
peak
diésel
times.
o con bunker
And
C,
the
vamos a usar las baterías.
plants that
Ya
operate with
llegaron
diesel or bunker
244
C
megavatios
will
de
use
turbina
these
que
batteries.
están
We have
instalándose en
reached
estos momentos.
244
Si usamos combustible más
megawatts of
barato,
turbines.
podemos bajar el costo de la
And
luz.
if we use
Y
this,
hacia eso
we
me
will
dirijo.
reduce the
Quiero bajar
cost
el
of
costo de la luz en
electricity.
Puerto Rico y
And
por eso
that's where
quiero
I'm heading.
convertir
I want
todas
to
estas
reduce the
plantas
cost
viejas
of
que
electricity in
queman
Puerto
bunker
Rico,
C
and I
a
want to
gas
convert
natural.
these old
Y no
plants
me voy a
that
detener
burn
ahí.
bunker C
Por eso
and
defendimos al
convert
pueblo
them
de
to
Puerto Rico
natural
ante el
gas.
negociado de energía
And I'm not going to
cuando
stop
querían
there. We
modificar la
defended
tarifa
Puerto
del
Rico
costo
in
de
face of the
electricidad, nos
Energy
opusimos
Bureau
a las solicitudes de
when
Luma y
they
Gemera,
wanted to
y tengo que
increase the
agradecerle
bills,
al
we
negociado
opposed
que
Luma
apoyó
and
nuestra
Gemera.
postura
And
y
I
no
want to
permitió
thank the
ese aumento
Bureau
en la
that
factura que
defended
hubiera
us and
sido
did not
trágico
allow that
para el pueblo de
increase,
Puerto Rico.
which would have been
Ahora bien,
tragic for the people of
estamos
Puerto Rico.
hablando de energía.
Now,
Y yo hablé
we're
también
speaking
aquí
of energy.
de que no íbamos a permitir
And I also
operadores que no
said that
funcionaran.
we will not allow
mucho-
operators
mucho
that
se
did
habló
not
del
work.
operador de Luma durante la pasada
And we
campaña.
have we have talked much
el año
about
pasado,
Luma in our last
Luma se
campaign.
iba.
And I said
Nosotros
that
íbamos a finalizar el
Luma
contrato.
would be
Y
ousted.
recuerdo que algunos
And
cuando
we were
salieron
going
de
to
aquí
end
dijeron,
the
"Ah, no
contract.
va a pasar
And
nada,
some
es
people
más
were
de lo
like,
mismo".
nothing's going to
¿Y qué pasó?
happen. This is more of
En
the
verano
same.
del año pasado,
And
esta
what happened?
gobernadora radicó un
Last
pleito
summer,
para empezar las
I
mediaciones y reclamar
personally
las cosas que el
filed
operador
in
no le había
court
cumplido
a
al
for things that the operator had not complied with for the people of Puerto Rico. The prosecutor wanted Luma to take it to the federal level, and Judge Taylor Swain sent the case back to the courts in Puerto Rico, saying that Puerto Rico had the jurisdiction. So 1.0. want to not for the people of Puerto Rico. Once again, we complied our promises to Puerto Rico, and we are filing a challenge to get rid of Luma Lemon. Luma is a lemon. That contract has been terrible for Puerto Rico. And they said nothing would happen. And Judge Taylor Swain filed a 35-page motion saying that this had to be seen in the courts of Puerto Rico to not in for the Puerto Rico island. So we're looking for a private operator. If a contract is not good for the people, we cancel it. We are not tied to any private operator. We're committed to those that give good service to the people of Puerto Rico. And we will take the right actions to not wait for Luma to solve their problems. We included the Corps of Engineers to start removing vegetation and cleaning the transmission lines. And I want to thank Engineer Josué Colón and all of the work done to fiscalize Luma Genera, and I commend him for the advances that have been done for our grid. These are not promises, it's word, results. We're complying. Now, after stabilizing the electric system, we have faced serious problems with our water infrastructure. Some regions have had this problem for decades due to a lack of investment. And even though it's not just pertinent to my administration, I have an urgency to take care of it so that people have water. Put yourselves in the shoes of those people who don't have water for some reason. Or don't get enough water, or they get black waters, or they get it every other day, or like in Morovis, where they would be without water service for weeks. This has happened for many years, and they're still facing that problem. My administration has taken the challenge to do strategic projects with improving the aqueduct grid, using federal grants and using these projects. My administration is doing capital investments thanks to federal grants. Now we have $806 million in 42 projects in the planning phase, $2.9 billion in 63 projects that are in the design phase, $975 million in 47 projects that are in the bidding phase, and $2.97 billion in 100 projects in building, $711 million in 99 projects, such as the dredging of the Carraízo Lake. And it had not been dredged in 28 years. This is $7.5 billion in 359 water projects, never seen before. This is why in February in Washington, D.C., I fought nail and teeth to get projects of $111 million to reconstruct the filtration plant in Caguas Norte that will produce 6 million gallons of daily drinking water for over 2 million people. And also we did a bid of $150 million to rehabilitate the plant Sergio Cuevas that serves San Juan and the metropolitan area. And this was supposed to be done later. And we will start working in July of this year to solve the problem of the people of Guaynabo, San Juan, and Bayamón, who have been waiting for so long. And the people in these towns are not to blame for the water problems. For me, this urgency sense is important. We have to take care of our people and what we're doing now to improve the service. And I know what a mom feels when she opens the faucet and there's no water, or when there's an old person that has to carry gallons in their building or go upstairs with these gallons, or working families, whole communities that have waited so long for responses. I cry when I see Rosa Martinez Colón of Llorens Torres, or Luz Lanza of Las Margaritas, or Mr. Luis Roberto from Condado. How do they feel with this uncertainty of not having such a basic service as
yo
water.
los entiendo.
And I want you to
Y
know
por eso
that I
voy
do
a hacer
understand
lo que
you.
otros no hicieron.
And this is why I'm going
Por
to do what
eso
others
no
did
voy a
not.
dejar que pase
This is
otro día
why
sin
I
que
am
se
not going
resuelva.
to let
Yo no vine a
another
dar
day go
excusas.
without
Yo vine a
solving the
meter mano.
situation.
Por eso
I'm not
estamos
here to
haciendo los
offer
trabajos de
excuses. I'm
reconstrucción
here to
para
roll
que
up my
llegue más
sleeves
agua
and
a
work.
la zona
And we are
metropolitana.
reconstructing
Porque
to
gobernar no es
get
mirar
more
para atrás
water to the
y no mirar hacia
metropolitan
adelante.
area.
Es resolver el
Because
problema.
governing
Por
is
eso,
not looking
este
back or to the
presupuesto
sides.
pone en
It's looking
prioridad
forward
en
and solving
infraestructura.
problems. This is
Infraestructura
why
de
my
agua,
government
sin llevar
has
soluciones
priority
reales,
in
donde
infrastructure,
por años
water
solo hubo
infrastructure,
promesas.
offering
Y con
real
esto yo no
solutions,
pretendo
when for
consolar
many
a
years we
nadie,
had mere
pero
promises.
sí
And
a
this
veces
might not
quizás
be a
pedir un
consolation,
poco de
but
paciencia.
perhaps I
Yo
ask
sé
you
que
for
Rosa,
patience.
Luz,
I
Roberto
know that
llevan
Rosa,
mucho tiempo
Luz,
esperando.
and
Y
Roberto
todo
have
el que
been
no tenga
waiting for
servicios
too long.
básicos merece
And all of
dignidad.
those that don't have
Merece
basic
servicios
services
esenciales.
deserve
Y merece un
dignity,
gobierno que actúe.
basic
Y eso es lo que
services,
vamos a hacer.
and a government
Al
that will
alcalde de
act
San
on their
Juan,
behalf.
al de
This is what
Naranjito,
we'll do.
al de Corozal,
To the mayors
al
of
de
San
Vega
Juan,
Alta, al de
Naranjito,
Bayamón,
Corozal,
al de
Vega
Guaynabo, y
Alta,
a todos los
Bayamón,
alcaldes que defienden
Guaynabo,
a su
and
gente.
all of those
Eso es lo correcto.
mayors that
Y eso
advocate
es
for their people.
exactamente lo
This
que
is the
todos vamos a
correct thing
hacer.
to do, and it
Defender a
is
su
what
gente.
we will all
A
do.
los que no tienen los recursos
Defend your
porque deben
people,
tenerlos.
those that do not have the resources but should.
Y específicamente cuando eso pasa con
And
los adultos
specifically,
mayores,
when this
tomo
happens
otra
with the
dimensión.
elderly,
Mi
it
compromiso
takes
con los
another
adultos
dimension.
mayores es inquebrantable.
My
Por eso en este
commitment
presupuesto
with the
asignamos
older
15
adults
millones
is unbreakable.
para
And
fortalecer
in
el
this
servicio
budget,
bancario.
we allotted
1.500
$15
participantes ya fueron
million
beneficiados.
to strengthen the
1.224
housekeeper services.
amas de llave.
1,500 participants have benefited from the services. We hired 1,224 housekeepers with a budget of $20 million. I congratulate Laura Garcia, Carmen Vargas, housekeepers who work day in and day out to give the best services to our older adults. Thank you. People have no idea the work you do taking care of older adults that cannot get up from a bed. You have to bathe them, feed them, give them their medications. Sometimes when the families are not there, you do God's work. Thank you. This is why we want more people like you helping our older adults. We will also implement the nutritional assistance program with vouchers of $100 for our older population to go grocery shopping. We have disbursed $3.1 million benefiting over 17,000 older people at this time. They are not alone. We will not abandon them. The Departments of Family and Health created a protocol to deal with mistreatment, abuse, or negligence against older adults in hospitals, and it has impacted over 1,723 people, including 600 older adults, with direct services. Thanks for the results and the benefits for our older population. And these are state funds, $15 million in state funds to give to working families that did not qualify, and we increased $300 for childcare and $150 for extended childcare. We're going to try to get additional funds to expand this in Puerto Rico. Our youth with functional diversity are a priority. And this is why we want to do a recurring allotment to SER de Puerto Rico. And now, almost in conclusion, we have to move ahead and let you know about so many organizations that have helped me last year. There's a multi-sectoral committee, and the president of the House of Representatives is part of the committee. We have a problem with wild animals in all of the municipalities, stray animals. And this is why we are assigning $2 million to give sterilization services to stray dogs and others to implement the first phase of a holistic plan to take care of abandoned animals in Puerto Rico. There's thousands of organizations for animals, veterinary, students, nurses, go and pick them up, feed them. They put their own money. Organizations that joined this initiative, such as Sato, Orgullo Patrio, Raquel Malaret from Social Commitment, Remy Martin from Huellitas in the Mountains, Tairi Flores, Happy Tales, Sharon Delis Velez, Maria Rojas from the Veterinary Technology Program of Medical Sciences, Maritza de Patitas, Flor from Mospava, Lillian from the Doctors Faculty for Veterinarians, Dr. Francesca Caballero, Ana Jiménez, Dr. Rochelle Cortez and Elizabeth Rivera from Humane Society of Puerto Rico, and the first gentleman, Dr. Jose Jovin Vargas, who has also joined this effort. Animals are part of our families. And if we treat our families like that, just imagine how we treat our own families. And I would like the mayors to help me in this effort. We will identify some buildings that are not being used. We'll talk to Pritco so that we can collect them, not only sterilize them, but there will be a joint effort with Pritco and the tourism office and municipalities together with these organizations I mentioned. Most of our success is thanks to our federal partners. I would like to thank the executive director of PRAFA for extending the funds that I attained as resident commissioner. This year, FEMA authorized $1.9 billion for 534 reconstruction projects that were stopped. And they include electric and water infrastructure and the reconstruction of schools and roads. And I missed something. I'm going to make a significant investment in the vocational schools. We need to change their equipment and improve their curriculum. We need more students in the trade schools. And secretaries, we are going to work with our vocational schools because that's where we're going to get the best employees for the manufacturing industry we're trying to attract to Puerto Rico. I knew that was somewhere in my speech. And as part of this effort, I want to let you know that what we did in PRAFA allowed us to increase permanently the tax in rum. And rum is important. Why? Because it allowed us to add an increase of 10.3, and we added 9 rum distilleries to our local industry, which created more jobs in Puerto Rico. Health, also the Department of Health increased the rates of payment in Medicare Advantage by 4%, avoiding a reduction in the health system. We also transitioned from PAN to SNAP, and we included wording in the farm law, the agriculture law of 2026. And I want to acknowledge the Secretary of Agriculture for his great work helping our farm workers, our coffee farmers and the cattle ranchers to avoid the plagues that infest their crops. Now, we are not talking about partisanship. We have public policy. We want to respect a people that's voted 4 times in a row for equality. Those that say that status is not important, thanks to our status, we have a colonial oversight board. People don't have good health. We don't have food security. We don't have the economic development tools that would allow us to be up to par with the others. We don't have the benefits of supplement social security or vet benefits. And may I remind you that we have to beg in Congress as second-class citizens instead of receiving what we should have if we were a state of the American Union. This is why I call upon you to go to Congress and file for new legislation so that we know the election results of the elections in 2024 that favor statehood. This year, we celebrate 250 years of the foundation of our nation, and we have actively participated during the last 128 years as citizens of nation founded under the ideal that we are all equal under unalienable rights. Puerto Rico joins the 250th anniversary of the US of A, and we have the equality promise which we will reach when we become a state of the nation. 51, 52, 53, but President Ronald Reagan said, Puerto Ricans have assumed the responsibility of the American citizenship honorably and courageously. They have fought side by side with us for decades, and they have worked side by side with us for generations. I believe that the statehood will benefit Puerto Rico as much as the other 50 states. 500 days ago, we committed ourselves to you. We said from day one our roadmap, and this budget confirms it. I did not come here to govern with excuses, but results. I reaffirm my commitment with a budget that does not think about leaders, it thinks about families. It's a real budget that will work with our people. Those that bet for this government, I thank you for your trust. Those that I still want to see more, I want to tell you something humbly, but very strongly, we are stronger and focused on complying what we promised the people of Puerto Rico. Let there be no doubt about it. Puerto Rico is moving forward. This is the time to comply and to construct. This is the time to move forward. The time of less promises and more execution. The politics of distraction will never substitute the politics of results. The people want to see the work with savings that will go back to their pockets in a check that you started getting today. Governing also means to understand the concern of those that are short at the end of the month, because I am accountable to God. I am accountable to the people who work and never give up, a people who need a government that complies, because a budget doesn't say how much a government spends. It reveals how serious they are in their commitments. May God bless the people of Puerto Rico, and together let us write the history of a people that moves forward. God bless you all.
We have received the message of Lady Governor. Thank you, Ms. Governor of Puerto Rico, Jenniffer González, for keep providing hope to the people of Puerto Rico. And now, let's go out there for more. Mr. President, of the Senate, we thank the Lady Governor for the message that she presented, and I've been given to the Legislative Assembly. She can count on the backing of the House and the Senate. Let's name on behalf of the House of Representatives, the commission that will escort the Lady Governor outside of this building, and the delegation of the Popular Democratic Party. Let's appoint Ms. Soliguez Cuadrado. the new party? And leave? Well, okay. Then for the new Progressive Party, we appoint Mr. Navarro Suarez and Ms. Ramos Rivera. Mr. President of the Senate, Rachel lets us appoint Senator Sotorentino, and Aguilares Huerta, Senator Aguilares Huerta. Thank you very much, Ms. Governor, for appearing before the House of Representatives and the Senate of Puerto Rico.
Amigos televidentes, de esta manera la gobernadora de Puerto Rico ha presentado su segundo mensaje de situación de Estado ante la Asamblea Legislativa, reunida de forma conjunta en el hemiciclo de la Cámara de Representantes. La gobernadora estableció y trajo a colación el presupuesto balanceado, indicando que Puerto Rico se encamina a su segundo presupuesto de esta índole, balanceado, consecutivo,
this nature that is balanced, consecutive, and certified under PROMESA for a consolidated budget of $33.57 billion. We make these expressions on the express message while the governor is saying her goodbyes from the hemicycle where she spoke, and at the same time spoke about her trajectory, greeting the people along the way, which are legislators, special aides, other members, and also guests that have been integrated into this moment that has been so special. We want to highlight that, and also the economic relief or financial relief were highlighted, the tax reform, and more than 1.2 billion and have been already issued in tax will be ready to go to the press conference that shall be offered by the two presidents of the House and the Senate, Tomás Rivera Schatz and Carlos Johnny Menendez. This has really been a message that has been clear in terms of where we began our management last year and where are we heading to in the pathway that the Lady Governor has traced. And in general terms, we can point out that not only the governor in the past fiscal year, that ends on June 30th, she has been compliant and fulfilling her word and commitments to put the work in action for the federal funds that have been gathered through the previous years that had been halted, but also we continue with our commitment in the previous fiscal year of approving a balanced and certified budget by the Financial Oversight and Management Board, something that we will do again this year so that once and for all, for the second consecutive year, we have a government that has done the necessary fiscal adjustment to manage to oust the Financial Oversight and Management Board out of Puerto Rico. But in general terms, the governor, she's still complying with their commitments that she committed during the previous electoral campaign, the police of Puerto Rico, also increasing the salaries of the correctional officers, allocating more money for the housekeepers to the municipalities to take care of our elders, allocating money for works and permanent works in the roads of Puerto Rico, a lot of the funds that the municipalities need, and obviously bills are under the consideration of the House and the Senate that will be fundamental in the economic development of Puerto Rico, which is a new permit code that shall address one of the biggest problems for the Puerto Rican people, which is to move forward and advance in the economic development through the granting of permits. So, I know that me, as well as most of the members of the House of Representatives, are satisfied with the expressions from the governor, and obviously now we'll begin with the process, or we shall continue with the process that we began since February of this year with the President of the Commission, Eddie Charbonnier, and who evaluate the budget, begin with the meetings with the Financial Oversight Management Board, also meet with the President of the Senate and his staff as well to approve a balanced budget that is also certified for the second consecutive year with you, the President of the Senate. Thank you very much, President. I think that it's important to highlight that the budget was originated in the government of Puerto Rico as per the request of the Oversight Board, and that shows trust, and it also shows that the government of Puerto Rico has had the capacity to manage its finances in a smart, intelligent, and adequate way. In the first place. In the second place, the message offered by the governor is timely in terms of the salary increases, the tax subject matter of the infrastructure that we have to live up from the elderly, retired population, as well as the children that have been addressed in a timely manner and directly in the message. And also we'll review that in the House and Senate. We'll make sure that everything's in perfect order and that we can approve a budget together with another legislation of the reserve fund and also the topic of the permits with another legislation under the consideration of the House and the Senate. And so we're also pleased that the governor acknowledged that the Legislative Assembly, that the House as well as the Senate has been contributing, and that the achievements are thanks to the contribution of the House and Senate of Puerto Rico. That's a big contract that can be marked in this message, can be highlighted in this message, and we're pleased. Understanding the budget topic. Eric Charbonnier is in the House. Migdalia Pandy is in the Senate with me. Yes. Oh, she's right here behind me, Migdalia. That she has already been managing the topic of the budget and of all of the other colleagues of the Senate of Puerto Rico. So thank you, everyone, and come pleased with the message, and we can make the contrast of who can be accountable and who cannot be held accountable. Good evening. Very well. Friends, we'll continue with this broadcast live here at the Capitol. And today, right now, we're with Orlando Rivero, the head of the Office of Management and Budget. Thank you. It's been a great evening, and precisely is a great evening. Given the message of the governor, I've taken some notes here from the message that the first executive has pronounced. So, Director, this budget leads Puerto Rico through a pathway of a balanced, second balanced budget. She was very emphatic under the Promesa Law or Act. What does it mean? So what does it really mean for the citizen to be interpreted in a common way, and how does the island get closer to the Financial Oversight Management Board? Well, it helps us house an entity that wasn't elected, and it keeps us under excessive controls on certain occasions to be able to make budget transfers and to address in a more direct way and avoid the bureaucracy and the red tape that exists with them. So this achievement that it's in a consecutive manner and that they have described it and in their letters and written in their letters and contributed to the fiscal plan, it leads us forward, and it shows that the government has moved to improve their planning, their budget planning, and their public finances. Under the system, the SID, that's how it is now, or I don't know what's the correct way. The part of how to help to fiscalize in an appropriate manner, the correct use of the funds. Well, the platform that we implemented, which is the data intelligence system, has helped us monitor how the behavior of that, the expense of that budgetary expenses to make a historic analysis and to know where can we take out of some areas to allot or assign to other areas like safety and security for the elderly. So it's part of the platform that we have implemented, and it's had helped us in implementing it in this budget. And what is the big impact of the 677 million assigned in priorities for the government? In which sectors? Essential services to the people, the elderly, public safety, and that benefit that people really receive. Now we have to execute on behalf of the agencies these budget allocation. If it's part of the initial answer about the new technological systems, to make sure that these funds can be reflected or can be turned into works. That's part of the mechanism that helps us to be able to monitor that really the agencies are executing these budget allocations, part of our planning, and not only to assign or allocate the budget, but to make sure that it is executed. And lastly, what do you consider that has been in the greatest strategic movement, what has to do with the way in which the government has managed the public funds? Well, we have been more prudent in the hiring through centralizing in our office and the chief of staff's office. So there's no way that we have assigned a lot of these assignments into the other areas without that reduction in the contractual part. So there's a big challenge in this process. That is correct, and we still have a way to go. We now have to wait for the Assembly to certify the budget and to approve it, which we heard both presidents of the Legislative Assembly that we count with their support so it can be approved before 6:30. So thank you for giving us all of this participation and put in perspective the efforts that are going to be put into action through the message of the governor. Thank you, Rivera. Now let's continue with more of this broadcast, and now we have the privilege of greeting Honorable Nitza Moran. She's a senator for the District of San Juan. Hello, good evening.
Hello, and thank you. We have finished the State of the State address of our governor, and we know where we're heading. So I believe that many questions were answered. People did not know where the budget was, where we were heading, and the things of interest, energy, public safety, security, federal grants, and I think that we have great announcements in terms of the pay raises for police officers, for teachers, things that were not known publicly. So I believe that it's good news for the people of Puerto Rico and for the other public servants that have been waiting for this for years. And the governor was very timely. This is not programmatic. It's already included in the budget, and it would be a reality because the numbers are there. And I must say that the Financial Oversight Board surprised me by an announcement they said before the budget that they were already involved in these discussions. So to me, this is very good news. I believe that it is great that we see that we're working together at the legislation
And the part that has to
public
do with the
policy.
municipality
And
of
now
San
in
Juan, what can you
regards
say?
to the municipality of San Juan, they know that this is great. She made an announcement of $208 million, and not only my district of San Juan and Aguas Buenas, it's the 78 municipalities. No discrimination. We are investing in infrastructure and in the public works department, regardless of the municipality. So our party is here to serve the people of Puerto Rico. We got the governorship.
Thank
and
you very
we're
much,
here to-
Senator, for your expressions. Going forward, thank you for
Thank you for letting me take the
Thank you very
information
much.
to Puerto
So
Rico.
from behalf, we thank you for tuning in for the state message, and remember to follow our broadcast on Noticias for our channel 6, obviously at 11:30 a.m. and at 6 in the evening. Have a nice time. Good evening.
Kids TV Puerto Rico. En sus corrientes se encontraron las civilizaciones. De sus profundidades surgieron mitos.